It all started on a Tuesday when Charles Lindbergh Jr. vanished from his crib in the Lindbergh home in Hopewell, New Jersey. The year was 1932. Charles Lindbergh, hero of the 1927 transatlantic flight, and his wife Anne woke to a nightmare: an empty nursery, a ransom note demanding $50,000, and a homemade ladder leaning against the second-floor window. From the first discovery, March 1, 1932, the case became a national obsession. Newspapers called it the crime of the century. Police combed the estate in the surrounding woods. Neighbors and servants were questioned. The ladder was photographed, and pieces were bagged as evidence. Lindbergh, desperate and public, agreed to meet an intermediary, a Bronx teacher named Dr. John F. Condon, who contacted the kidnapper in newspaper ads and eventually negotiated the exchange of cash. The paid ransom did not buy a life. On May 12, 1932, a boy's body was found in a shallow grave less than 5 miles from the Lindbergh home. Autopsy showed a skull fracture, and the child was identified as Charles Jr. The revelation hardened public outrage and intensified the hunt for the culprit. Investigators pursued a trail unlike any before: bundles of marked ransom bills. Hundreds of the serial-numbered notes circulated quietly in banks and stores. In September 1934, nearly 2.5 years after the abduction, detectives traced a marked bill to the garage of Bruno Richard Hauptmann, a German immigrant carpenter living in the Bronx. A subsequent search of Hauptmann's home turned up more ransom money, roughly $14,000, and the case moved from mystery to prosecution. The prosecution, led in court by New Jersey's Attorney General, presented a reconstruction. Hauptmann had built the ladder from lumber traced to his attic. His handwriting matched the ransom notes, and he possessed bills stolen from the Lindberghs. It was a compelling narrative. The defense insisted Hauptmann was framed, that evidence was planted or mishandled, and that the strongest forensic links were circumstantial. On January 13, 1935, after a sensational trial steeped in publicity, a jury convicted Hauptmann of first-degree murder. He was executed in the electric chair at Trenton State Prison on April 3, 1936. Yet the case never settled. It only multiplied questions. Conspiracy theories flowered almost immediately and persist today. Some historians and writers argue Hauptmann acted with accomplices, perhaps associates who disappeared, like an associate named Isidor Fisch, a German who had left Hauptmann years earlier and whom Hauptmann claimed had knowledge of hidden funds. Others suggest a larger conspiracy implicating organized criminals or even a cover-up tied to political pressures. The nation wanted a scapegoat, and the sensational press demanded resolution. Critics point to inconsistencies, the ladder's provenance debates, disputed handwriting analyses, conflicting witness accounts, and allegations that police labs and procedures in the 1930s were prone to error and influence. What is indisputable is the wider fallout. The Lindbergh case exposed the limits of local law enforcement when celebrity, money, and interstate movement intersected. In 1932, Congress passed the Federal Kidnapping Act, commonly called the Lindbergh Law, making kidnapping a federal offense when victims are taken across state lines, and authorizing federal involvement in similar cases. Decades of books, reviews, and documentaries have reviewed the evidence, some defending the verdict, others arguing for doubt. For the Lindberghs, the cost was permanent, a public life shadowed by an unspeakable private loss. For Bruno Hauptmann, conviction and execution closed a chapter, but not the debate. For the nation, the case reshaped criminal procedure and public expectations of justice. The Lindbergh kidnapping remains a chilling blend of forensic firsts, media frenzy, and unresolved questions about who else might have been involved, or whether justice, in the rush for an answer, mistook certainty for truth. In that empty nursery, the ladder still suggests the audacity of a plan. In the courtroom and the pages since, the argument over conspiracy endures.